russosbrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
Well, TKO president Mark Shapiro was on the main event with Andrew Marchand, and he was talking about WWE PLEs. And he said they're open to new ideas. They never seem exhausted. They're ready to take on a new shot, a new risk, a new opportunity. Hey, Nick, meaning Nick Khan. Hey, Nick, let's talk about launching a new event. Right now, a lot of our PLEs were created by Vince McMahon. We need to get in the business of taking that torch and moving past that. And Nick and Triple H created WrestlePalooza, which is the launch event for our new ESPN deal, which did incredibly well and may turn into a super franchise. Not to mention, from a merch standpoint, I don't need to tell you, securing the IP rights and then selling merch at WrestlePalooza, let's just say it was a real winner.
Boy, that much spin makes my head spin, you know? First off, Vince didn't create those things. WWE itself and the machine created those items that he was discussing. Secondly, they didn't create WrestlePalooza. It was created by Paul Heyman and ECW, you know, and it was not a success from what I understand from the critics. You know, financially it probably was, but not
from the network. The network rated it a C.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't financially or critically acclaimed by the ESPN network. So,
Al, you're talking about. Let's talk about business again. You literally, this is what they're doing. Right. Let's blow up everything that worked. Everything Vince did, I mean, it worked, and you're looking to blow up things that worked.
New people come in, assume they know the business that they are now involved in that they don't.
Yes.
Because they have access to information. They have access to things like this, a podcast. They hear information. They have no actual experience, but I know things because I've been a fan for 20 or 30 years, you know, like you're a fan of baseball, but you'd never suppose or be so presumptuous as to assume that you now know how to manage or run a baseball team. But you would, you know, you're a fan and you know you have information, but you have no experience actually managing a baseball team and what it takes. And what, you know, where the pitfalls are and what it really means to be successful. Sometimes not winning a baseball game doesn't mean you're not successful. As a franchise, as a baseball team, you still could be very successful. You know, you're building the program for years to come. And so you're going to take a couple of hits along the way for the longer term vision. You're not going to understand that when you don't have the experience to do that. And inevitably, and I've had to deal with it here, where people walk in off the street. Oh, I've been a fan for years. I know wrestling. And then and now I'm everything that worked and was successful. Well, we're going to change all that because we got to put our thumbprint on it. We got to make it our own, you know, and it's like, why? What, you know, that's like, I'm going to get a McDonald's franchise. And you know what? I don't want it to be red and yellow. And I don't want the golden arches. I want to change the logo that's worldwide known for how many decades. The color scheme of red and yellow, that's never going to sell. Nobody will buy red and yellow merch. I want to now change this to, you know, purple and green.
Yeah.
You know, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you realize that people know the brand, and that's what you bought, and you now think that you have a better idea?
You know, especially, bro, Al, when you're coming in and you're buying this off of somebody like Vince McMahon, knowing this was this guy's entire life, this was his dad's entire life. His grandfather. I would think Vince had somewhat of a clue to what he was freaking doing.
Grew up around guys like Dr. Jerry Graham, and
it's crazy, man.
I could go down the list of the talent that, you know, indoctrinated him into, hey, here, kid, here's what works. Here's why we do what we do. Here's how we get them to do this. Here's how we get them to do that. He understood that, and you know, on a level that most won't ever understand.
And because
of all of the experience he got to benefit from.
And now they even when they did it, they basically said Vince McMahon didn't fully maximize ticket sales.
Correct.
And what did we sit here and say? Guys, keep charging these prices. It's going to catch up with you.
Because
it's going to catch up.
Vince played the long game, knowing that he was building generational fans through those family experiences for decades to come.
Yes.
Now they're only looking at the short-term gain and the profit for a quarter as opposed to a decade.
Yes. Bingo. And it's catching up with them. We're already seeing ticket sales are way down now. It took a while.
And I think remarks and comments by this guy,
I agree,
clearly not in touch.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's gloating about merchandise sales.
And
why would you do that? Like, why would you do that? You ever hear Taylor Swift say, well, yeah, I sold X amount of dollars a t-" Never.
You ever hear Vince do that? Where, he was like, oh, yeah, we just really we soaked them dry on the merch in this particular time. He never did that.
Never, man.
And he never talked ticket prices.
No, never
about how much. He never really spoke about how much money WWE made. That was nobody's business.
Yep.
You don't do that. That's, well, what do I know? I mean, it's not like I'm soaking anybody dry on anything. So
obviously TKO, UFC, they charge the big money. The big celebrities come in. The president comes in with Kid Rock and all this stuff, right? It's a big time event. Are they thinking they're going to turn WWE into similar to the UFC, where they don't really care about the wrestling fans? We want these other people that spend all this money to be our customers.
They could, and they should. They should try to do that. And I think Vince will back me up. That's what happened during the Attitude Era, is that we created a product that drew that audience, that drew people that were not wrestling fans, that drew the casual audience, that drew, I had this conversation in my history class last night. They drew Carl. Carl is not a wrestling fan. Carl loves wrestling. He likes it. But he's 6'3". He's about 250. He's a little hefty. You know what I mean? A little overweight, middle-aged, plumber, makes good living, right? Works hard, comes home, sits on the couch, opens a beer, starts flipping through the channels, stops on wrestling. Carl don't care about the quality of the match. Carl don't care about whether it got 5 stars. This is a shoot now. Carl don't give a shit. Carl never goes on the internet to check websites for wrestling information. Carl doesn't know the backstage politics. Carl just sees somebody on TV that he relates to or catches his eye and has his attention, even if it's only for 30 seconds, and then Carl stops and watches. Now it's up to that talent to engage Carl. So you know what? Why we were so successful? Because every guy in the United States wanted to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. Every guy. And then why did we continue to do so and be so successful? Because Vince McMahon was the heel that everyone had a boss just like that they hated, and they wanted to do what Steve Austin did, which was flip him off and basically be a rebel. And they wanted to live vicariously through that. Did Steve, I guarantee we could go look at Meltzer's ratings. Did Steve Austin ever get 5-star matches? Probably not. The matches he had with Vince McMahon? Probably not. I'm sure those weren't 5-star. Granted, if they were at Korakuen Hall, absolutely. Were there death-defying spots in those matches? No, I doubt it. But did it draw that audience? Did it make that kind of money? Absolutely. It did. Why? Because Carl could relate. Carl don't give a shit about wrestling. He don't give a shit about Meltzer's opinion. He don't give a shit that Kenny Omega got 5 stars. Remember, Carl's an ex-football player, whether it was from college or whether it was from high school. And Carl is, like you said, 250, 260 himself. He's 6'3", 6'4". You think he's going to relate to Kenny Omega, or you think he's going to relate to Stone Cold Steve Austin? There's your problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Hey, Carl can go to his friends. He can describe Stone Cold Steve Austin in a sentence or less. Hey, guys, you got to watch this show. You got to watch wrestling, man. Why? Hey, you know this shit's fake. Fake? I don't care. There's this guy on there, man. He's an ass-kicking, beer-drinking redneck. He flips off his bot. What? Yeah, man, he's awesome. He's so funny. He's entertaining. He goes out there, he stomps a mud hole in him, walks him dry. Oh, hey guys, you got to watch wrestling. Why? There's this guy, Kenny Omega. Who the f is that? Oh yeah, he's really looks like an underwear model. Does this with his fingers. Does a lot of stuff where he dives out of the ring. Dives out of the ring. Yeah, dives out of the ring. For what? To hit his opponent. Why the f would you do that? That don't make no goddamn sense. That's the conversations that happen. I'm not saying that to diss Kenny Omega, but that's the point.
Edit that part out, Jeff. Use the clip and edit out the I didn't say that to
Yeah. I'm simply stating that that's where you're at.
Absolutely.
Vast majority of the talent now, and I've said this so you can get your air horn ready, and I don't give a shit. They sell what they do, and they don't sell who they are anymore. And Carl don't get that. Carl don't care. Carl just sits there with his beer and goes, "This shit's boring."
Al, you want to know something that's hysterical to me?
You know what? Predicts the duel. She wouldn't even lasted 3 minutes in front of Carl because he'd have turned the jail in 30 seconds.
Al, you want to hear something that's hysterical? You know, I review the Attitude Era every 2 weeks. I review the Attitude.
Put your pants down because that would be hysterical.
Yeah, Al, listen to me. Al, I review the Attitude Era every 2 weeks. 2-hour show. Al, there's no clean finishes. I'm going to
get an air horn myself.
There's no clean finishes ever. Ever. The clean finishes are on the pay-per-view. There's no. How did we go to everything has to have a clean? There were none, Al.
Because of the influence of, and this is sad because of that heavy of an influence by Dave Meltzer.